All right, so let's jump right into one of machine learning's most intuitive ideas, k-nearest neighbors. It's, a surprisingly simple algorithm, but don't let that fool you for a second. Its power really comes from a concept you and I use every single day without even thinking about it.
You know when you're on Netflix and it just knows what you'll want to binge next. Or when Spotify drops that perfect playlist that feels like it was made just for you. Well, a lot of that magic, it really comes down to algorithms, just like k-nearest neighbors. And they all work on one simple, powerful principle: similarity.
And here's the cool part. This idea of similarity is just incredibly versatile. I mean, think about it. The exact same core logic connects all these totally different fields. Spotting a fishy transaction, helping a doctor with a diagnosis, even recognizing your own handwriting. At the end of the day, it's all about finding what's most similar. It really is all about proximity.
Okay, so that's the what. But how does it actually work? I mean, how can you predict something new just by looking at what's nearby? Let's break down the intuition behind this whole thing.
All right, to make this super clear, let's use a simple analogy. Just imagine, we have a big old pile of fruit. We know which ones are apples and which are oranges based on, say, their color and their weight. Now, someone hands you a new mystery fruit. How do you figure out what it is? Well, KNN says the answer is simple. Just look at its closest neighbors.
And this leads us right to a saying we've all heard a million times. Birds of a feather flock together. It's true in life, right? But what's really key for us is that it's also true in data. Things that are similar, they tend to clump together. And that one simple observation, that is the absolute bedrock of how k-nearest neighbors works.
So the core idea here, the main assumption, is that similar things exist close to each other. Now, you'll hear the term feature space thrown around. Don't let that trip you up. Just think of it like a big map where we plot all our data based on its features, like the fruit's color and weight. So the closer two dots are on this map, the more similar they are. It's that simple. So if our mystery fruit lands right smack in the middle of the apple neighborhood on our map, what's your best guess? Yeah, it's probably an apple. And that right there is KNN in a nutshell.
Okay, so here's a really interesting, kind of quirky thing about KNN. It's actually known as a lazy algorithm, and here's why. Most other models, they do a ton of work up front to learn from the data. They build a complex model, find some fancy formula. KNN, nope, it just stores all the data. That's it. It waits until you come to it and ask for a prediction, and only then does it do all the work. It's basically the ultimate procrastinator of the machine learning world. But hey, it works.
Right, so if it's so lazy, how does it actually make a choice when you need one? Let's break down the step-by-step process because it's actually wonderfully straightforward.
It's really just a simple, logical, four-step process. So, step 1, you have to choose k, and that's just the number of neighbors you want to ask for their opinion. Let's say we pick k equals 3. Okay, step 2, the algorithm then calculates the distance from our new mystery fruit to every single other fruit in the dataset. Step 3, it finds the 3 closest ones. Those are our k-nearest neighbors. And finally, step 4, the fun part, it lets them vote. So if 2 of our 3 neighbors are apples and 1 is an orange, well, majority wins. Our mystery fruit gets classified as an apple. See? It's really as simple as that.
Okay, so the process is simple, but getting it to work really well means we have to make 3 key decisions before we even start. This is kind of our setup and tuning phase.
First up, and this is the big one, is choosing k. And this choice, it perfectly illustrates a classic machine learning trade-off. If you pick a small k, like say 1 or 3, the model gets super flexible. The decision boundary becomes really complex and jagged because it's trying to listen to every little piece of data. This makes it really sensitive to random noise, and we call that overfitting. Now, on the other hand, if you pick a large k, you get a much smoother, more stable boundary. It's better at ignoring noise. But if you go too large, it might oversimplify things and miss the real subtle patterns in the data, and that's called underfitting. So the real goal here is to find that perfect Goldilocks k. Not too small, not too big, but just right.
Next up, we have to decide how we're even going to measure closeness. And, I mean, think about it. Is the distance between 2 spots a straight line, as the crow flies? Or is it the distance you'd have to walk if you were on a city grid, like in Manhattan? Well, the first one is called Euclidean distance, and it's pretty much the standard. The second one, the city block version, that's Manhattan distance, and it can actually be better in certain situations. The big takeaway here is that even the very definition of distance is a setting that you can choose and tune.
And one more thing, a step people often forget, but trust me, it is absolutely critical: feature scaling.
Just imagine this. What if one of your features, like the weight of a fruit, is measured in grams, so you have numbers in the hundreds, but another feature, like a color score, is just measured from 0 to 1? Well, the weight is going to completely dominate the distance calculation. It's like having a judge who only listens to the loudest person in the room. Scaling fixes this. It puts all the features on a common playing field, a common scale, so they all have equal importance. This lets the algorithm make a fair and balanced decision, which is exactly what we want.
Okay, so now we know how KNN works and how to get it set up, but just like any tool in a toolbox, it has moments where it absolutely shines and other times where it's, well, not the right choice. So let's get into a real, balanced look at the pros and the cons.
So on the plus side, its biggest advantage is definitely its simplicity. It's just so easy to understand, and you don't need to make any complex assumptions about your data. It's also incredibly flexible. It works for all different kinds of problems, and get this, adding new data is a total breeze because you don't have to retrain a whole complicated model. All this makes it a really fantastic starting point for a ton of projects.
But that whole lazy approach, it definitely has a downside. Because it has to calculate the distance to every single point for each new prediction, it can get incredibly slow, especially with big datasets. And it also needs to store that entire dataset in memory, which can be a real problem. So yeah, it's powerful, but it's not a silver bullet for every single machine learning task out there.
When you really think about it, the k-nearest neighbors algorithm is this powerful reminder that sometimes the most elegant solution is also the simplest. The whole thing is based on an idea we all use instinctively every day. Just look at what's nearby to understand something new. So, in a world where AI models are getting more and more mind-bogglingly complex, it really is worth asking ourselves, what is the enduring power of a simple, truly intuitive idea?